So you just took a photo and it looks like this or this. What happened? Hello everybody, I am Tao. I go by It's Theodore on all my socials. So if you guys ever want to find me, you guys can find me by It's Theodore. I am a self-proclaimed camera hoarder, camera enthusiast. I love cameras. As you guys can tell, I have a whole cabinet full of cameras. Today I want to share with you guys why your photos would be either black or white. There are two options as to why this could have happened. One of which is either you're underexposed or you're overexposed. Well, what does that mean? Underexposed means that there is not enough light going into your photo. Because of that, your photo is dark. The other case is when it's overexposed. Why does this even happen? Could be you just opened your camera up and there was a photo inside and you didn't know, and you took out your film canister and voila, just one split second, even 1/100th of a second with exposure to light can cause this. You don't even have to turn on any lights. It just has to be exposed to just normal daylight, not in an enclosed space. This can happen very easily. And I see it so often. People online will sell cameras and they're like, film included, and they take a photo of the camera and then the film that is exposed and sitting out into the world like that. Well, I don't know how many exposures that you had on that film pack, but now you're one down and potentially 2 or 3 down too because of light leaks and whatnot. Those are the two things that could happen. So let's talk about why this happens when there's not enough light getting into your lens. And when this happens, there's just not enough light for the lens to capture its surrounding. This happens at nighttime. This can happen especially if you have Instax Fujifilm cameras. The lens filters, they go out of place and they accidentally cover part of the lens. And I've seen this happen so many times, especially for cameras that have been dropped, especially the Instax Mini 8. I'm saying this from experience because I have a lot of experience with the Instax Mini 8. And for some reason, that camera, whenever you drop it, doesn't matter how you drop it, if you drop it regardless, the filter on the lens will go out of place. And when you try to take a photo, the filter isn't going back into its place, missed a line, and now you'll just have a portion of your photo cut off by this filter. And I've seen that a lot. Another reason is you're just taking photos in a really dark place. How to prevent that is by taking photos in the daylight or not covering your flash. Now, it's personally happened to me, and I'm pretty sure it's happened to many, many people, but it's very, very easy to cover this freaking flash. So this flash right here. So you're out and about and you're taking a photo and you're just like, I'm gonna take a photo, but you don't realize your finger was covering the flash. This flash is so important. It might not seem like it is, but especially for analog cameras like this Instax Mini 8, it is very important because these cameras rely heavily on light. The settings inside of this camera in general is just not very good. I find that if it can't register if it's daylight or nighttime, it just has a hard time taking photos. And when that happens, it makes your photos really dark or super overexposed. You'll have some sort of features, but otherwise like super overexposed. Or sometimes this, you see the little lens protector thing, sometimes it won't open fully, and that really causes a lot of problems with faulty cameras and cameras that you've dropped. Those don't fully extend, meaning that they don't fully open, causing not enough light to get into your lens, and that could cause underexposed photos. How do we prevent that? So you can prevent that by not dropping your camera, by not covering your flash, and giving the lens enough light so that when you take a photo, there's enough light for the lens to absorb and to give context to your photo. Let's move on to this one. So this is actually caused by opening your film compartment. Do not ever open your film compartment. What I always do and what I always recommend is always take just a test photo. Doesn't matter, take a selfie, photo of your dog or photo of your food sky, whatever, and just make sure there's no more film in there, because when you open it, there's no going back. As soon as I open this right here, and if there was film inside and I don't know and I take it out, the film is exposed. There's no going back. It's a waste of film, and honestly, I'd rather have a photo of the sky than waste film and have this piece of crap. And if you don't have any film left, then put in a new canister in. And then if you do, just keep taking photos until they're gone, because you do not want to waste film. Another thing is, it could be that the film is bad. There's these little chemical pockets at the bottom of your photo. And whenever you take a photo, they go through these rollers. And with these rollers, it spread out the chemicals inside of your film. And when that happens, you get a photo, you wait for it to develop, and your film comes out. When the film is bad, most likely expired, or those chemicals are dried up and they do not spread anymore. And when that happens, you can have nothing. The photos will never develop because the chemicals are dried up. And I've seen that happen a lot, especially for Polaroid film cameras that I go thrifting and I see there's still film inside that are from decades ago, and the film pack is just completely hardened because the chemicals had dried up decades ago. And that could be caused by weather, temperature, leaving it out in your car, or just leaving it in a place that's not ideal and it's just sucking these chemicals dry. And unfortunately, that happens more often than we think, because we take photos and we don't ever think about it ever again. And so then we just leave it in the camera, and then we're like, hey, let's take another photo. And then when you do that, the chemicals had already dried up, and then you think, oh my gosh, my camera is broken now. But in reality, it's just the film that is bad. My cousin had to give me her Instax Mini 40 for me to fix, because it's her favorite camera. And honestly, that's one of my favorite cameras too, and one I recommended to her. That camera had a problem when the film would come out. Every time the film would come out, the photos weren't coming out. It was white. And she was like, what is going on? Or there would be a corner of the film that would be white. Well, this one isn't caused by that. In my cousin's case, in her Instax Mini 40, it had a problem where whenever the photos would come out, the rest of the photo would be okay, but there's a portion, a corner, or a little part in the middle of the photo that is white. It's not developed. And that's really weird. But as soon as she told me, I knew immediately what it was. One of her film packs had ruptured in the film roller, and she didn't know about it, and it dried up. So every time she would take a photo, there would be a part of the photo that isn't developed because these rollers weren't clean. And when the photos would come out, it's not being spread evenly because the rollers aren't tight knit like this, and they're uneven like this, and they're just like, which makes it so that the chemicals aren't spread out evenly. I immediately looked at the rollers, and lo and behold, it was dirty. There was some black streak marks in it. I knew immediately that that was because a chemical pack had ruptured in the rollers, and she didn't know about it, and she never cleaned it up. So I had to go in and I cleaned it for her, and it was a relatively easy clean, but not everybody knows about it because it's just something you'd never think of. So we're gonna take the example of this SQ. So you see how this little corner is white, and the rest of the photo seems to be okay, but this little corner right here is white. This is the reason why that happened. So I actually have had this film pack just hanging out outside of its normal film packaging, the foil one. And so I've had it for a while just sitting out, and I wasn't really thinking much about it, but there has always been this black filter on top, or this black protective cover on top to protect the film. And well, I'm just gonna use the film because it's been sitting out for a while. I don't want it to dry up, and so I'm just gonna use it. So what happened was I have been leaving this film pack out like this, and there's this little corner right here, and there's this little thing that actually protects these film to cover it, right? Well, I've had it just laying around for so long, and then I've been onto so many trips. It's just been in my camera bag being pushed around, and so this had bunched up. See how it's bunched up? And when it bunched up like that, it was not protecting this little corner right here. And why is there even this little corner that is exposed right here? Well, it's to push the film up. There's a lever inside of your camera that pushes this film up that goes into the camera rollers. And because this was all bunched up like this, it has not been protecting and covering the film from natural daylight and stuff, which caused it to have this little corner to be exposed because it wasn't covered. This little guy right here. This happens so often when you just have film laying around like that. Unfortunately, the stuff gets pushed around, and when that happens, it bunches up and it just doesn't cover your photos or doesn't protect your photos anymore. So let me show you what that looks like. Pretend this is inside of the film pack, right? So normally it'll look, it's supposed to cover it like this, right? So this little flap, it'll cover that hole. But because it's bunched up, it can't cover that hole anymore, hence causing this type of situation to happen. What is that? This little situation in the corner to happen to all of these. See, this right here and the more prominent one, and then slightly here. And then the rest of the photos were okay, I guess, because they were lower down in the pile, so they weren't exposed. But these ones that were on top, that didn't have this little protective cover on it, like this. Oh gosh, I ripped it off. But it didn't have that, so it didn't protect the film. It's getting brighter. Those are really the main things that would cause your photos to turn either black or white. That's mostly all I've experienced. Honestly, sometimes these cameras are so wishy-washy and you just don't even know what's wrong with them sometimes. But from my experience, those are the reasons why the photos could have been black or white. If you guys like this video, I think that you guys will like my next video regarding the Instax Mini 99. I love that camera, by the way. Highly recommend that camera. I hope that you guys found this video helpful and informative. And if you guys did, please do give a thumbs up. And I will see you guys next time. Adios!